Welcome to the Women's Connection. I'm Barrie Switzen, your moderator. The Women's Connection is a program about events shaping women's lives and helping one gain authentic power on a personal or professional level. So won't you stay tuned?
Welcome. As we get older, chronologically, our bodies have a tendency to get older also, but our mind is still young and sharp, and we're still that teeny bopper. With me today is Dr. Dana Cohen, and we're going to talk about aging. And I would like to welcome Dr. Cohen.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about your background first?
So I'm an internist here in private practice in New York City for the past 18 years. And I practice integrative medicine. And so I do things a little bit differently. I try to keep people off of medication using lifestyle and nutrition and supplements and whatever it takes to really make medicines a last resort. But I will use some medications sometimes.
Now, how did you start out in the business?
My first job out of residency was with Dr. Atkins of the Atkins diet fame. And he changed the way I thought about medicine. I really thank God for him because I was really fortunate to work with him. He was brilliant, and it was just an incredible experience for me. And I was not that happy in internal medicine prior to that.
So he changed your life around.
Changed my life around, changed the way I thought about medicine, changed the way I practice medicine, and it's been, it's just basically good medicine. Lifestyle comes first, and we learn that, but nobody really practices it. We forget it when we go into practice, and it's so quick to write a prescription when it shouldn't be. Well,
one hot topic is osteoporosis. Okay, I'm going to read from your PR piece.
Okay.
In fact, one of my neighbors, she was listening to some actress promoting this shot. So she goes and has it twice a year, and it's like over $1,000. I think she first thought it was 10 grand, but then learned it was $1,000. And to me, that's like, you got to be kidding me. There's so many other things to do. All right, I'm told drugs are projected to hit the $4 billion mark by 2021, but according to a January 2016 study in JAMA, International Medicine, whatever JAMA is, 2/3 of new prescriptions may be inappropriate due to the increase in screenings of too early of an age, and I'd like to talk about that, which is interesting with 10 million Americans currently suffering from osteoporosis and 34 million with low bone dense mass who are scored at risk. Okay, yeah. Now there are advances in prevention that could reverse the rapidly increasing numbers of people affected that are expected to spike in 2020 with 14 million cases and 47 million cases of low bone density. That's a lot of problems here.
You just said a mouthful. I have to go back to a couple things because there's some really important things you just said.
Okay.
So JAMA, which is the top 2 journals that every doctor knows about, the Journal of the American Medical Association. In January, it came out and said probably 2/3 of people on those osteoporosis medications, which is going to reach $4 billion of osteoporosis medications, just osteoporosis medications, 2/3 of those people are overtreated, not necessarily should be treated. And that's a problem because they're not without side effects and they're not without their problems. So we need to start thinking about prevention and other ways that we could be treating osteoporosis without resorting to medications that are expensive and have side effects.
At what age is the best age to get a screening?
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to ask me at what age is the best way to start prevention, and literally childhood. And we'll talk about that when we get to a certain vitamin we're going to talk about. But to get a screening for bone density is recommended at age 50. unless there are problems like amenorrhea, where you don't get a period, or you go into early menopause, you don't have hormones. There's other reasons that you should do that. But 50 is the first screening age. And it's not necessarily 50, it's when you go into menopause. So some women who are going into menopause later, you could screen a little bit later too, because hormones help prevent osteoporosis.
You start screening after menopause and not before to get a base or something?
It's not recommended. The only time it would be recommended is, once again, if they don't get their periods, if there's amenorrhea, women with eating disorders who lose their periods younger in life are at risk. So anytime there's a hormonal disorder, you may want to screen a little bit earlier. But your baseline bone density is typically done at menopause, which is usually around age 50.
So then what happens after that? I mean, there's like soft bones, hard bones. I don't get it.
All right, so we can take a step back. Our bones are constantly being built up and broken down, built up and broken down. That's how our bones get remodeled. That's how they actually get strong. So with osteoporosis, you have more bone loss than you do bone being built. And that's the danger. We don't like to see osteoporosis. With osteopenia, it's slight bone loss, and there's things that you can do. That's when we really can get in there and work on some real preventative measures on treating osteopenia and rebuilding bone before it's too late. And it's never too late, by the way, not even with osteoporosis.
Well, let's start. You brought some vitamins here.
I did.
What's the difference in vitamins? I mean, I take a tremendous amount. But you've got K2, and now there's something going on about K2?
So vitamin K2 is, you're going to start to hear about vitamin K2 the way we heard about vitamin D 5-10 years ago, because it really is the last known vitamin deficiency that we have in our diets. We cannot eat enough vitamin K2 to give us what we need. So that's what I was talking about. We're hopefully going to start adding vitamin K2 to children's multivitamins, because that's when we're building our bones the most. And that's a great time to get started with vitamin K2. But it's found in certain foods like fermented foods, also in hard aged cheeses like Gouda, in beef, in egg yolk. There's certain things, but you couldn't possibly eat enough to get what you need. So what they had found a few years ago, I mean, they did a study over a few years where when they replaced vitamin K2, actually I want to take one step back, because we need to talk about calcium before we talk about vitamin K2. Okay. We all know calcium is important for our bones. We need it to make good, healthy bones. There's no controversy there. But if you remember a couple years ago, there was a controversy about taking calcium and too much calcium because it could affect your heart. It literally helps hardening of your arteries. Calcium, it was a problem, and they're saying, stop calcium, it's not good for you. And I was even at a crossroads of, what do I do, how do I prescribe calcium? Well, we can't not give calcium. You can't not eat calcium, and I think it's super important to take it as well. The missing link here is vitamin K2. So what they found is that vitamin K2 is the most potent inhibitor of calcium in your arteries. It literally pulls calcium from your arteries and puts it into your bones. It's very exciting, and it's really important for us to now take, if you're taking calcium, you must be taking your vitamin K2. And so this study over the course of a 3-year period showed an increase in flexibility of your arteries, so improved arterial flexibility. It showed improved bone strength and improved bone density over a 3-year period. And the study that was done on a very specific form of vitamin K2, MENA Q7 vitamin K2.
But the question comes in is, how much does one take?
So that study that was done, the 3-year study showed 180 micrograms of vitamin K2 a day. And you can now get supplements. And I mean, there's a couple different ideas. 45 micrograms a day is probably sufficient, but I treat with 180 micrograms a day, and I have them take that dose every day with their vitamin D and their calcium and magnesium. and maybe some other things depending on what we're treating.
Basic healthy person would take 1 calcium, 1 K2, 1 D3?
Depending on levels. So I do measure let's talk about vitamin D levels, because this is also the other exciting thing. There is an organization or a website called the powerofd.org, powerofd.org. And they are involved, and there's lots of people that are involved in this huge international study of vitamin D testing and what it uses to treat. You can actually go onto the website, get, this is it right here, get an at-home vitamin D test and do your own vitamin D testing from at home and be involved in this international study on vitamin D, which is really exciting. So you dose vitamin D based on blood levels, and the vitamin K2 is 180 micrograms, and calcium I typically recommend about 1,000 milligrams a day of calcium. And magnesium I typically recommend anywhere from 500 to 1,000 milligrams a day of magnesium. We can't forget about magnesium. It's an important supplement to take with this.
I take a ton of vitamins, but it's kind of like, when do I take them? Can I take it with the magnesium? Do I have to take it with the zinc? Do I have to take, because I take so many, and it's like, how many times a day do you take it? When do you take it? Do you take it with your meals, without your meals? Yeah. Do you take it with fats, without fats?
Yeah, so vitamins A, D, E, and K are fat-soluble vitamins. We know that, right? So vitamin D and vitamin K are fat-soluble. Typically, they're often found in fat, so you get like a gel one, and you can take that. But all of those, any ones I've just mentioned, calcium, magnesium, vitamin D, and vitamin K, best taken with food. The calcium should be split up. You can only absorb so much in a day. So typically, if you're taking 1,000, 500 twice a day. And so you can split them up. The vitamin D you can take once a day. If you miss one day, you can take it the next day. It's fine. You can double up on the dose. So that's fine too.
I'm overwhelmed. Okay, because it's like, all right, so is there one brand you would say stay away from?
I wouldn't say that. I don't know. You know, I couldn't possibly know every single brand out there. I definitely have brands that I love, and I've gone to the Wisconsin, and I've gone to the farms where they're being made, and I've spoken to. They have reps just like drugs have reps, and you understand how they're made. What are their practices? I mean, there are hundreds and hundreds of hours that I've spent researching my supplements and have people teaching me about them. So I definitely have better brands I like. As far as, the vitamin K2, I think it's important to know, because this is why I brought this. You can see here, there's a CVS brand. That is fine. The raw ingredient of the vitamin K2, which is MENA-Q7, is in that CVS brand. And it even says it on the label. This is the brand that was done on those studies that were just out. It's hard. It's overwhelming. I recommend an integrative or a functional doctor that knows about supplements. If you're taking a lot of supplements, to consider making an appointment and have them go over them with you, or a nutritionist or a health counselor that really does know these things, and somebody that you trust. It is a lot of research and a lot of time that goes in, and it's.
Can you overdose on any of this?
You can overdose on vitamin D. I've never seen it, and I have patients taking 10,000 IUs a day. I'm not recommending 10,000 IUs a day, but I've never seen anybody overdose in vitamin D, but that is the big thing that everybody was so worried about. Don't overdose. I think there's probably too much of everything. So it's important, specifically with the vitamin D, that's the one that really has been talked about and controversial. Just be careful that you don't overdose, because it can affect you. So you get your levels checked. If you don't know, do an at-home kit, powerofd.org, and you can be part of a study, so it's good.
Then what questions should I be aware of to ask my doctor before I start either prescriptions or vitamins?
So I would ask, how at risk am I? People don't realize that a bone density is a spot. It's a spot in time. This is what your bones look like right now. We're not going to do another bone density for 2 years. can I implement some lifestyle changes before we start medications? Why do I have to start it right now? Do we have time to wait? If you are super frail and unhealthy, it may not be proper for you to wait. I don't know. But that's what I would ask. And I'd say, can I implement some lifestyle changes and supplements and nutrients before I start a medication? I mean, that's always a last resort, and it should be. Lifestyle should be first-line therapy. And once again, most doctors aren't looking at that. So, you know, bone strengthening exercise, the best one you can do are squats, like literally weighted squats. Wear a backpack when you walk around the city. I lug stuff around all the time. Carry heavy stuff. It's good for you.
But if you carry heavy stuff, doesn't that give you tunnel syndrome or something with your hands?
Well, I mean, if you're carrying it here,
right.
You know, I mean, I think, you know, you don't want to, you not necessarily, it doesn't give you tunnel syndrome, but, you know, if it's bothering you, then you're not carrying it right or you're not doing something right. But no, that's not, it's okay to carry, especially on your back, and carry weights. It's good for you.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so when I'm lugging home 2 bags of groceries, I mean,
unless they're cutting off your circulation, you know, that might not be the proper way of your carrying it, so you may need to carry it in a better way. But yeah, it's good for you for the most part. Like, I'm constantly lugging heavy stuff, and I think it's good for you. Other
than the squats and carrying heavy things, is there another exercise that you can do?
So any kind of weight-bearing exercise is a known treatment for osteoporosis, and every gym now has trainers that are really trained in osteoporosis weight-bearing stuff. So you want to do, you know, and it doesn't. And when I say weight-bearing, it doesn't have to be super heavy weights. But these are things you can do at home. I like water jug bottles, you know, carrying 2 distilled water jug bottles and doing some squats or lunges. You know, the reason I say squats is because those big muscles in your thighs are really important muscles, and they're our largest muscle. So that's a really good way to get those big bones affected by the weight bearing in a good way.
I've heard a lot about couch sitting is the new cancer.
Yeah.
You want to address that?
Sure. Yeah, there was a lot of talk about that. I definitely discuss this with my patients, and I don't know how what those studies, you know, how true they are. I definitely think, I mean, from just a common sense, we are sitting for way too long of periods. And I know in my office, and what I tell my patients is, if you're sitting at a desk all day long for hours, set an alarm to get up, go walk around, go ahead and sit back down. You know, I don't know, and maybe even consider getting a standing desk, or I've seen these desks that have treadmills. I would love to get one in my office, but it would be a little awkward for me to be walking on a treadmill while I'm taking a history from a patient. I actually thought about it though. But yeah, I think it's a problem. I think if you're sitting for too long, you need to set an alarm and make yourself get up at least once an hour. And even if it's just standing and stretching and you know, look at the ceiling, move your neck. It's super important. We don't move enough either. So it's not only just sitting, but it's moving and getting our body and our joints to move.
Is there a particular food that you would recommend that somebody should have? Because I mean, there's been all this controversy about milk. So we won't even go into milk, but is there some other food to help your bones?
Oh, good question. If I had, there's lots. So if I had to, okay. So I'm going to say something that it's hard for us. There's a Japanese fermented soy product called natto. Are you familiar with it? No, nobody is. But natto is the richest source of vitamin K2. And there is a section in Japan where this one small section in, I forget what town, where they eat this natto and they have less osteoporosis. And it really is the most incredible rich source of vitamin K2. It tastes horrible. It is really an acquired taste, but you can get it at Japanese grocery stores. It is available. It's very much an acquired taste, but they eat it for breakfast. So if I had to, and green leafy vegetables, lots of magnesium. Egg yolks are, like I said, a rich source of vitamin K2. It's hard. I mean, I can't just say one food. I think we need to eat if I had to make it a plant-based diet, lots, with good, healthy, organic meats, and lots of water.
Well, as a matter of fact, how much water should a person drink?
I'm happy you asked, because that is what I'm writing a book on hydration, which is very interesting. We don't know. We don't know the answer. There is lots of controversy. Somehow 8 glasses of water became nobody know where that even comes from. And I know there are days that go by that I drink no water and I'm fine. I'm standing, I'm fine. What we don't take into account is water in our food and in our plants. And this is a whole conversation in itself, but there's a 4th form of water that recently has been discovered, and it's gel. And so gel. And this is not alternative medicine. This is very real. So we know that there's ice and vapor and liquid, right? We know those. Those are the 3 forms of water. And now there's gel-based water. And most of the water in our body is gel-based. And it's things that are, think about aloe and cactus and the gel that's in plants. It's a gel form of water, and that is the most hydrating. Think about chia seeds. They form a gel when you put them in water. Very hydrating. So if you're dehydrated, that's a great way to get some. Green juicing is incredibly hydrating. So,
well, green juicing.
Or green smoothies, I should say.
Okay, because you would put a lot of greens in that. Usually they put water or ice in that too.
Right. So green smoothies where you're actually, breaking up the greens and putting them in a blender as opposed to just juicing them.
So with vitamin K.
Yes.
And all your supplements, does that have the potential to offset Alzheimer's?
Alzheimer's, interesting. I don't think there's any research about vitamin K and Alzheimer's. Do you mean osteoporosis?
No,
okay.
Alzheimer's.
So yeah, I don't know of any research about vitamin K and Alzheimer's. What I do know about Alzheimer's is that we are, it's now being called type 3 diabetes.
Alzheimer's is type 3 diabetes?
Type 3 diabetes, and that is very much in mainstream medicine as well. So there is a very strong connection between, metabolic, meaning blood sugar, and its relationship to Alzheimer's, and it's very strong. And so once again, we need to look at sugar in our diet, and really we need to get rid of that processed sugar in our diet.
I've been using coconut sugar.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. I'm not convinced it's so much better. And I think there is something about the coconut sugar that, first of all, the way that it's made, it's incredibly difficult on the environment. There's something about in the way that coconut sugar is made, and I'm not convinced it is much better than regular sugar. It may be a little bit lower on the glycemic index.
I think it's a lot.
No, I don't think it is. I really don't think it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look at me arguing with the doctor.
No, it's new, and I've just started to look into a little bit of research. I think if for sugar, there are better ways of doing it, like stevia or lohan fruit. There are some other ways to sweeten up if we need it.
When I'm baking, I'll take, they'll say a cup of sugar, white sugar. Well, white sugar is not exactly appetizing to me.
Right.
So I'll substitute it with coconut sugar, like a 101.
Yeah.
Because it's got all these healthy benefits.
Yeah.
I mean, coconut is just off the charts in health benefits.
Well, coconut oil is.
Okay.
Right. But the coconut sugar, I think, is basically fructose.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I may be giving, I don't know, I don't want to give wrong information either. So but I'm under the belief that it's not as what they're touting it to be.
I don't like that.
I'm sorry. Stick with stevia. Stevia is I think a really good alternative to play around with. It's hard. It's incredibly. It's almost so sweet that it's bitter. So you really need to start with very, very small doses of it, and play around with it.
Yeah,
stevia.
because I tried it one time and it was
If you,
extremely,
and
I
if you
didn't
use
like
too
it.
much of it the first time around, you'll never go back to it. So start with 1/10 of what you think you should need, and then work up from there.
All right.
It's an acquired taste, but you'll get there.
I'll get there. Okay. Vitamins for arthritis that somebody could take?
Well, I think the most widely known and published thing you can do for arthritis is fish oil. Fish oil works in exactly the same pathways that NSAIDs, nonsteroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, work, like ibuprofen. It works in the same pathway without the side effects. So it's very anti-inflammatory. There are things like curcumin, which is a powerful, powerful anti-inflammatory medicine. Even just cooking with curcumin, which is also known as turmeric.
I cook with it all the time.
It's so good for you, just even eating it. And I'm not convinced that you need to take supplements of curcumin. I think we can really, if we eat it enough, you can get incredible, powerful boosts by having it in our foods, let alone it has very powerful anti-cancer benefits as well, the curcumin. For arthritis, it really depends on the arthritis. If it's an autoimmune arthritis, then it goes into a whole thing. Well, from a holistic standpoint, we look to the gut first and treating the gut, which gets into a whole nother chapter. Yeah.
When I make, you'll love this, I eat eggs practically every morning. So I have the coconut oil on the pan, then I douse, it's almost with the turmeric.
Oh, nice.
Unbelievable. Yeah. So I get this, I know when the oil is hot is when the turmeric is, I can smell the aroma from it. And then I plop the eggs and I have sunny side up. And
beautiful. That's such an easy, simple, great recipe, a beautiful breakfast. I love it.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
And then if it's really runny, I'll pull out a slice of gluten-free bread.
Great. Perfect.
In the closing moments of the show, what would you like to leave the audience with?
So I think I'm on the scientific advisory board of the Organic and Natural Health Association.com. And we're also behind that powerofd.org. Be a part of this study. I think it's important. Go get your vitamin D levels checked. You don't have to go straight to medications. I think there are some real lifestyle changes that you can do that can make a huge difference before you get treated for osteoporosis.
Dana, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I mean, I've learned a lot.
Good.
And I hope you've learned about vitamin K, calcium, and D3. Are you taking them daily? Love to hear from you. Please write us here at The Woman's Connection. Bye now.